Hey, legendary in a vending machine. That's pretty cool. Even though we can't use it, Salvador might be able to use it later, so we'll keep it. I've already done most of my farming at this point. Never got any Ludmillas. Got some Veruks that I sold right away. And then I realized, holy crap, we can get a Heartbreaker. And that's a good consolation prize if you're not going to get a Ludmilla. So we get Marcus's mission called Safe and Sound, which becomes available as soon as we get back to Sanctuary after Bright Light's Flying City. Because Sanctuary is in the air now, the city has left a hole in the ground called Sanctuary Hole, which leads ultimately to Caustic Caverns, where I don't enjoy going. It is very descriptive to call it Caustic Caverns. It's an extremely hostile environment. I've never really liked it. I used to go there because I thought I had to, and, well, just to see the area, but I don't really go there anymore other than to get a Heartbreaker. I have gone, you can farm for a blockhead and a longbow. There's a gun called a longbow, and I did get one of those. I never did get a blockhead, but it's not a fun farm. You have to go like a long ways in order to get to the little cave where you can get those things. It's kind of a cool farm, but I hate how far you have to go. So I never have gotten a blockhead. So now we're going to go kill sanctuary squatters, they call them. But they're just standard bandits. Nomads, Goliaths, psychos, whatever. And we only have to kill 25 of them, and that's about all there is. It's not going to be like when we were getting the power core after Reese got killed, where it was more bandits than it said it was. Actually, I guess there are more, but we don't have to kill them. You can tell that I prefer homing grenades because almost all of my lobbed throws are not good. Believe it or not, I've gotten a lot better at throwing lobbed grenades. As bad as my throws are, they're not as bad as they used to be. And that's because early in the game you are forced to use lobbed because homing is not available. And longbow is also not available if that's your preference. We're seeing some corrosive cloud in action here, but it's not demonstrated at its best because I'm not used to it yet here. It actually goes off when we hit the barrel, but I don't see it, which is weird. But anyway, yeah, I'm still shooting at these guys as if I need the fire to burn them down and the bullets to bring them down. And when Cloud Kill works, when it's active, one shot will do, and I'm just not used to it yet, so I'm going overboard with my shots here. That guy's grenade deflected, but I didn't notice that while I was playing. I thought it would be coming down here, so I ran back. So you can see we already got 12 bandits. I'm not dodging those axes very well. I'm not getting my critical hits. I see dots on the mini-map, but I don't know where they are. So I'm like kind of looking for them. I usually go around to the left, but I'm thinking, well, there's some guys up there. Maybe I can hit them. There's one. There's another one. And again, I'm getting lazy. I'm getting sloppy. Not doing my critical hits. I don't know why I even blew that up. It wasn't close enough to anybody, or it's not a threat to me. You could see on that one a little bit better. Corrosive Cloud doing its thing. Or Cloud Kill. Sorry, I'm misspeaking again. It is essentially like a Corrosive Cloud grenade, though. That's probably at least partly why I mix them up. Here's another instance of me behaving hesitantly and just kind of... I seem to be out of it. I don't know why I'm so interested in these basically equivalent turtle shields. I'm sitting here examining them. And we're good with our turtle shield. We got 3 level 19 green turtle shields right now, and they're all essentially equivalent. Sometimes one will have a significantly better recharge delay or a significantly better something, but it's almost always paid for with one of the other properties. So you might end up with like an amazing capacity on your turtle shield compared to the one that's really similar, but then it'll have like a terrible recharge delay. So it's just kind of up to you what your preferred arrangement of properties is. And of course, I definitely skew towards low recharge delay. I like my shield to come back up. There, that's a better example. One non-critical hit, and that nomad is down. And here once again, I guess I'm looking, there's a red dot, and I couldn't figure out where they were, but they're down below. And this Goliath actually walks out of Cloud Kill. He has enough health that if he keeps walking, he eventually gets out of the cloud. This nomad, or this Goliath is not going to move. And the cloud just takes him right down. So the cloud is activated by hitting him with a gunshot, throwing a grenade, or using phase lock. You know, those things aren't going to cause corrosive cloud. I actually don't know if a melee hit would do it. I don't think so. But since I don't play melee, I don't really know. Somebody who plays melee might know. I would think it might be a problem because you might be close enough to the cloud for it to affect you if it activated on a melee hit. But generally, walking into your own cloud doesn't do anything. I still don't do it. It's like a natural reaction. Oh, don't walk into the corrosive cloud. Although you've seen me do that on more than one grenade so far. Walk into my own corrosive cloud grenade. So, but if if I really clearly see it and I'm aware of it, then I'm going to try not to do that. So I'm hesitant to walk through even Cloud Kill, even though I think you can pretty safely. And we didn't get a cloud that time. Not sure why. I think we should have. Definitely got one that time. You can see the little indicator on the progress bar come up that has a little cloud on it with the toxic symbol, and it only lasts 5 seconds. So basically, as long as you can see the cloud, it's active, and once it dissipates, you're eligible for a new cloud, and it's 5 seconds. So that is a fast turnaround time. So I've heard that at some point during this game, like, I don't know, a few years in or something, they buffed Corrosive Cloud because it wasn't effective enough, or for whatever reason, developers change aspects of their game later on, that they thought it was unbalanced or something, and they buffed Corrosive Cloud. And right now we're thankful that they did, because it's, I don't know, I think it's probably the most game-changing skill that I've encountered. I know for a skilled player, Bore and Critical Ascension and Money Shot, you know, there's some other skills that other characters have that may be comparable to Corrosive Cloud. But for me, not being able to necessarily line up or use those skills properly, Corrosive or Cloud Kill is just like pretty automatic. You know, I mean, all you have to do is hit something and it works. And it's an extreme buff on the power of your weapons, basically. It's like, holy crap. I didn't know that guy was behind me. I don't even know what I'm doing. I should just run and get a Heartbreaker or go find Marcus's safe. Instead, I'm kind of just walking back and forth here. But anyway, yeah, any idiot can get Cloud Kill to work constantly. Whereas with something like Bore or Critical Ascension, you have to pay attention. Anarchy, you have to make sure your stacks are good and that they don't deteriorate on you, and that you get the right balance between accuracy and power. Whereas Cloud Kill, just, you know, it's for stupid people, you know, or for unskilled people. It just, no matter what, you're going to get like massive benefit from it. In fact, when players, you sometimes see guys testing a weapon, like, is this gun any good? And they go out and they test it. And if they're using Maya, they have to remember to turn Cloud Kill off. Even at high levels, Cloud Kill makes enough of a difference that they have to turn it off in order to get an accurate assessment of the weapon, because you don't know how much Cloud Kill is doing and how much is due to the weapon itself. So, you know, when you see that, you can see that Cloud Kill is actually like a weapon buff. You saw me looking at that other Corrosive Cloud there that wasn't as good as ours, but it was a homing. And I would like a homing Corrosive Cloud. But that fuse time, even though it was low, it was only 1. It wasn't 0. And for Corrosive Cloud, you know, we already saw just now that Goliath walk out of our Cloud Kill. They'll walk out of Corrosive Cloud just as easily. And even that 1 second fuse time is enough for them to walk out of it before it even goes off. So, in my opinion, on a grenade like that, you really do want less than 1 for your fuse time. If you can't get anything else, then okay, go ahead, take a lower one. But, you know, once you start getting up around 2 or 3, it's almost better to just use a different grenade. But one thing I haven't come to grips with yet, in what the footage that you're watching, is, you know, my original playthrough of Maya, she didn't have very many grenades. She wasn't holding very many grenades, because with Cloud Kill, she doesn't need a lot of grenades. I mean, she almost has a grenade like every other shot, or, you know, every 5 seconds, she has another grenade available. And of course, it's always a corrosive grenade, but it's still effectively like a free grenade, constantly. So all these little things kind of add up to an amazingly powerful skill, especially for an unskilled player, because it doesn't require setup. Now I am getting hit by these shards from blue that are electrified and are taking me down hard, and I wasn't prepared for it. I honestly don't remember blue throwing shards at me like that. Fortunately, I got a second wind, but I'm down again. And that time my second wind was actually blue going down. So we got kind of lucky. I was completely unprepared for that. And I'm thinking next time I come to get a Heartbreaker, I'm probably not going to retreat to this cave. I think that was part of my problem, as there wasn't really much option for evasive action once I got into the mouth of that cave. I kind of just had to stand where I was. I couldn't go right or left. I probably could have backed up really fast, but I don't know if that would have done any good. But we survived once again by the skin of our teeth. And we have the Moxie photos that were stashed in Marcus's safe, which turned out to just be a red chest. I guess they couldn't go to the trouble to actually make a safe. They just used the chest asset that they already had. And here I am being indecisive and hesitant again. And I think a lot of the way I'm playing is due to being thrown off balance by Cloud Kill. I mean, I was expecting it to be powerful, but I wasn't thinking far enough ahead to realize that having it be this powerful was going to change the game so much. I mean, essentially, we've just taken the virtual difficulty slider in Borderlands 2 and moved it all the way to the left, as far as it can go, because at least mob-wise, nothing is going to be a challenge from here on out. I was planning on dashboarding this until I got the best one, and this one is not ideal. It has a low magazine size, but it has a quick reload speed, which was the main thing I want. And once again, I guess I'm getting lazy. And in a lot of ways, a Heartbreaker is a Heartbreaker, and it's going to be good no matter what. And this one was good enough, so I just kept it. And then you can see I had already opened this up. We just fast traveled to it. We didn't have to do the little drive in order to get to Wildlife Exploitation Preserve. It was already open because I came here earlier in order to try out those vending machines, because all of my the chest in the dust was level 17. All my Gwen's heads are level 17. I did manage to get a Gwen's head in every flavor except for non-elemental. Gettle and Mobley were level 19, but I didn't get anything from them other than a couple non-elemental Varooks that I sold right away. So I was just farming for level 17 loot, and that's not very satisfying when you're level 19. So I came to these machines to try to get a better shield and maybe upgrade my grenades. And I was able to do that. We have a couple of good shields. Right now we have a shock spike shield on, which is excellent for stalkers. In this spot, I don't think one actually physically attacks us, and you do need somebody to melee attack you in order for a shock spike shield to actually do its thing and shoot out a shock spike and shock, your attacker. In the meantime, this Tesla grenade is working fine. And our shock Gwen's head is working fine as well. It's taken down these guys' shields pretty much right away, which makes them a hell of a lot easier to hit when they're not invisible. And that kind of helps me with another thing that I want to point out. When it comes to Tesla grenades, I don't prefer a homing grenade. Because so often, when you want a Tesla, it's because there's an invisible enemy. Their shield that is susceptible to shock damage, it also makes them invisible. So like for stalkers and for Jack in the Vault of the Warrior, a homing grenade will just fly off because it won't see an invisible enemy and it won't hit them. You'll see that a little bit later, I think in the next episode. So you want a lobbed, so you want that Tesla to be actively going off and not confused by the invisible enemy. You just want to place it yourself manually. So with the Tesla, I always go for lobbed and don't pick homing. Homing is worthless against invisible enemies. Mordecai has a pretty nice gun there. I'd like to try that one out. We'll see what we picked up in my farming. Most of it's level 17. Shock sniper that I'd never get around to using. There's our Heartbreaker. There's that shock spike shield. Pretty good shield. I upgraded that a little bit. And some of these grenades are new. The level 19 ones, that one's old. I got a couple transfusion grenades. I don't think Maya really needs them, but they were pretty good grenades, so I took them. They might be useful. Got some new spinny guns. All my Gwen's heads. Found an anarchist. Those are still the same. I found this slag SMG, and this was the best I could do for a corrosive sniper, was that Hyperion one. I'm really disappointed in my luck on corrosive snipers so far. We haven't really found a great corrosive sniper. We've done much better with fire snipers. So I would like to find, like a good sniper or something that's corrosive. But actually this little Hyperion it ends up working pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with it. I decided to try out the slag spinny gun. I'm putting on the Hyperion, the anti-Hyperion loadout, because we're done with stalkers for a little bit. And everything's going to be robots, Hyperion soldiers, surveyors for a little bit here. I should have changed from my spike shield to my amp shield. I picked that amp shield. See, I didn't move out of the way of the shock that time. Picked that amp shield. There I go. Not necessarily because of the amp charge that it gives your shots periodically, but it was just a good shield. It's a purple one, and it just has a good solid shield capacity and a good recharge delay and a good recharge rate. So even without the amp part of it, it's a very solid shield, and I couldn't resist. So even though I usually prefer turtle shields, especially turtle shields with some kind of resistance, I couldn't find one, and this was a good shield, so I took it. Now we're going to switch to a homing transfusion corrosive grenade, which is actually a good grenade, just, even if you don't need the transfusion part of it. It's pretty effective at laying down a lot of corrosive damage and hitting more than one enemy in its area, because it's kind of double homing the way that it works. I am totally not seeing these surveyors, so you can tell I'm getting lazy and I'm not keeping an eye on my mini-map. I just got blasted by that guy. At least I dodged that one. All you have to do really is step aside on those surveyors' shock blasts, and they generally don't hit you. But I wasn't even mustering up the effort to do that. You can see that was an amp shot, that little kind of white digital look to it, and it has a special sound as well. Just means that in our case, it's almost doubling the power of that particular shot. And when that happens, it drains a little bit off your shield as if you got hit, but it's not much. And the shield capacity is good enough and the recharge rate is fast enough that it's not that big of a hit. And, the amp damage is pretty cool to get once in a while. But yeah, homing transfusion grenade will, first of all go out and seek an enemy, and then once it finds them and explodes, a bunch of little child grenades come out, and they also are like mini homing grenades, and they go seek an enemy, which if the original blast took out that first enemy, they will actually go find a different enemy. So you can end up attacking 2, possibly even 3 enemies with one homing transfusion grenade. And that's, not even considering the transfusion aspect itself, which can oftentimes be extremely helpful. You can see my cloud kill taking out 2 loaders at a time here. So if you think about that in terms of gun damage, and that all of a sudden we've turned our gun into something that can take out 2 loaders with 1 shot, you're looking at a skill that's comparable to Boar in a way, without having to have the setup of Boar. It just happens. Somebody's shooting at me. There he is. And Cloudkill took him out with 4 shots from the SMG. So I don't think my description of Cloudkill was very much exaggerated at all. In fact, I think it's to the point where it's affecting my play. We've kind of had the rug pulled out from under us as far as our expectations go. We were expecting a certain level of difficulty, especially in a mission like this that I consider to be the hardest mission in the story. And all of a sudden, it's not anymore. I was looking forward to Cloudkill being super powerful and being able to take advantage of it, but I wasn't prepared for the kind of psychological hit of all of a sudden the hardest mission in the game is the biggest cakewalk we've had since before Knuckle Dragger, right? I wasn't thinking in those terms, and yet, psychologically in your gameplay, I think that has an effect, right? All of a sudden you kind of lost the fire in your belly, you lost your motivation to be good, keep an eye on the mini-map, keep doing your critical hits. You kind of lost all your reason to do that. You can see I just got hit by a surveyor, wasn't keeping an eye on the mini-map. At least I had the sense to use phase lock there. And of course Cloudkill doesn't do much against a surveyor because it's moving too fast, but there are always going to be a couple enemies that any given skill isn't going to be very useful against. And of course, fast-moving enemies are one that Cloudkill has less effect on. Like, when we eventually get to Bloodwing, we'll see Cloudkill doesn't do much on Bloodwing because he's flying around, and he's out of the cloud right away, so it doesn't do much to him. And even the same with Stalkers. But Stalkers are unpredictable in how they jump around, and sometimes they'll hop right back into the cloud after they've gotten out of it. There's a homing transfusion grenade. You can see it's going around trying to find somebody. And then the child grenades come out and attack that same enemy again. So it's almost like a double attack, and then we get transfusion orbs out of it as well. So I do like a good homing transfusion grenade. Whether it's slag, whether it's corrosive, whether it's incendiary, they all have their uses. And I oftentimes end up with just a cornucopia of grenades in my backpack, which, It's kind of nice to keep your backpack light and straightforward and easy to navigate instead of clogging it up with a bunch of things. I got hit by a surveyor again. But, like I've mentioned a few times, before I started this, I had just finished Krieg in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, and he was very much a grenade character, and he relied a lot on transfusion grenades, and so did Zero, in order just to keep themselves alive. And so I kind of have a hangover from that. And even though Maya doesn't need that, I'm still looking at a purple corrosive transfusion grenade with a 0 fuse time, and my mouth is watering. I can't resist, even though she doesn't really need it. But since the last time I've played Maya, I've also realized that you don't want a transfusion grenade just for the transfusion properties. It's a good grenade anyway. I'm running around collecting everything I can here because I want more grenades. Again, I haven't come to terms with the fact that Maya doesn't need this many grenades, but I want my grenades to be as full as I can before I go into the next segment. And the next segment is going to be wildlife again. So we're going to want to change out our gear again. That's one of the things that makes this mission one of the harder ones, is the variety of enemies. At the beginning here, they're separated. So first you fight stalkers, then you fight Hyperion stuff, then you fight skags, then you fight more stalkers, and it keeps going like that. And then eventually it gets mixed, where you're having both wildlife and Hyperion enemies at the same time. So that means that you can't focus your loadout as much. You have to either change your items all the time, you have to be swapping out like this all the time, or you need a flexible enough loadout where you have, one corrosive gun, one fire gun, one kind of all-purpose gun, and one emergency weapon. And then your slots are pretty much full. That's another thing, is the whole time I was playing this, I didn't even once think, I'm so glad I have 4 slots now. And yet, having 4 slots is a new thing. I mean, we had 3 up until now, until we finished Bright Lights Flying City and Roland gave us that last SDU. So I think that's worth mentioning, that now we have all 4 slots, and having a loadout. Look at that. 3 skags in one shot. That's just crazy. So we can kind of jump down here with no fear. We've got our spike shield. We've got Cloud Kill, which admittedly Cloud Kill's not going to be too good on that corrosive enemy, but we do have the Heartbreaker, so we're kind of prepared for anything. And even if we're playing badly, our offensive arsenal is good enough that it's, making our defense less of a consideration, which is bad for my habits. I need to keep on it. My habits are not so solidly formed that I can afford to back off. So once we get to the next mission, I'm going to have to snap out of it and get back with the program a little bit. Some more skags come out as you get nearer to this building. You can see those red dots coming out on the mini-map. And we got some pretty tough skags, 2 of these alpha skags out of that little grouping. But Spike Shield saved us. And pretty soon here, I'm going to realize that I forgot to get the Doctor's Orders mission, which, to be honest, I usually do forget. I forget more often than I remember. I don't know why, but I always forget to grab that off Tanis. And right here I'm thinking, should I go back and get that? Or should I just go ahead without it? And then I think, well, Maya's like the perfect character to take care of loot midgets. So I went back to Sanctuary. That's what that little cut was in there. I cut out my run back to Sanctuary to get doctor's orders. And you'll be able to see here that, yeah, doctor's orders is the mission that I actually have on right now. And all doctor's orders does is it guarantees that you're going to get loot midgets in this little ammunition room that we're coming up to. It has a chest in it and 4 boxes. And doctor's orders pretty much guarantees that you're going to get a loot midget in each one of those boxes. And Maya's phase lock is, as far as I'm concerned, the best skill for taking out loot midgets. Nobody else handles loot midgets as easily as she does, so let's take advantage of it while we can, just in case, you know. I mean, it's normal mode. We're not likely to get anything from a loot midget, but we might. You never know. One of them might drop a legendary or a better relic or something. At least they usually drop enough ammo to pay for whatever ammo you use taking them down. So there's no reason not to do it if you have Maya. If I had been running with Salvador instead, I might have just not gone back to Sanctuary and just said, let's just keep going. Now, I think it's pretty unusual for a surveyor to come in here. And I got hit again. I didn't even sidestep. And meanwhile, the skag is right next to me, so it's pretty clear I am not watching the minimap. And there's a skag right in front of us that's holding still for some reason. And I don't see him despite the red dot on the minimap. I can see him now, but I didn't even see him there. Pretty soon these racks are going to aggro to that skag. And now you can see, now the skag jumped once he got attacked by racks. Lately I've been coming around this way instead of going straight through off to the left there by the water, because it seems like to me so far that this spreads out the enemies better to come over this way and go through that archway right in front of us. That when you go off to the left by the water, that you're more likely to get heavily swarmed by all of these enemies at one time. Whereas coming this way, you have a good distance between you and the oncoming enemies, and they don't seem to all aggro. There's enemies off to our left that aren't activated yet, and it's keeping them out of the fight, which makes it a lot easier for us. But without Cloud Kill, even in normal mode, this can be a pretty intense area where you're really, going in to fight for your life occasionally, and especially in later levels when they start throwing rabid stalkers at you, it just gets ridiculously hairy, and I have a really hard time with it. And I've been in here with Salvador and Gage at times where I was just watching my money supply dwindle like crazy because I was dying and getting respawned repeatedly, mostly because of rabid stalkers. But in normal mode, it doesn't seem like you actually get rabid stalkers. You get some stalkers that are tougher than others, but not nearly as tough as a rabid stalker. You can see That last one jumped out of the cloud, and that one did not jump out of the cloud. I think that one hit my spike shield. That one got killed by the cloud. So we're not having to do much at all here. We're just like a walking death machine without putting out very much effort at all. Like all our enemies are kind of getting killed for us without us having to do much. Even using a Tesla grenade like that is pretty passive, right? I didn't really do anything. I just threw the grenade there and then killed one stalker, and another stalker walked through it and killed himself. Now, corrosive cloud does get less effective as we go on, as enemies get stronger. But it remains a good skill all the way through Ultimate Vault Hunter mode. The caveat in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode is that, like any other situation, the enemy really needs slag on them before it's effective. So you can't expect Corrosive Cloud to take out unslagged enemies. But if they're slagged, they still go down. So I am going to break this up in 2 parts. I'm personally not going to. I'm going to keep playing, but the recording's going to break up into 2 parts. As soon as we get into Natural Selection Annex, I'm going to stop recording, and then I'm going to start again to go through the rest, through to the Bloodwing fight. So, in this episode, there's no more enemies to fight. Just a couple vending machines to take a look at and sell whatever we've collected. I was thinking my backpack was full of loot that we'd collected, but we still have a couple spaces free. We could have collected more of that loot. So I think we're probably less than halfway done with the preserve, but we've made good progress. One of the harder parts is behind us now, but we also have a hard part coming up. Arguably a harder part coming up, and plus the Bloodwing fight. So there's a lot to go, but that's it for this one.